Are we? Okay, I'd like to welcome everybody this morning. We'll start our session. I was asked to say a few words about the learnings of yesterday and what we're trying to accomplish or will accomplish today. Again, the name, Charged. We were very charged when I met Merle Nathan about this particular subject on energy, and our original name was Get Charged 2010 for this conference. And then we thought more about it, and we thought that this conference and the transformation that we need to see in the energy field probably needs vision, and we found that out yesterday for many of the workshops and discussion. So 2020 is something that deals with vision. We thought maybe we should have a 10-year look. So how does this look in 10 years? And we saw a lot of battery conferences in the past, and we thought there was a need for leadership, there was a need for direction and vision, and probably not a need for a battery conference, another battery conference, but a need to understand the technology. So that's how that was put together. We dropped the Get, and it's Charged 2020. I was very, some of my surprises from yesterday. I was very surprised that 24 hours before our conference started, we received the proclamation for the conference by the Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger, supporting and encouraging this particular activity. And then I was very happy to have, Mayor Jerry Sanders inaugurate this particular session. Especially here in San Diego. When we did our early marketing surveys, we saw that the people here in Southern California, and in particular San Diego, had a very intense interest of the environment and energy and this particular topic. And then we were very pleased to be part and host with the University of San Diego in the School of Leadership in this particular building. So I think this is how we pulled it together, but the mayor talked about transformation again. And he talked about how to do that. So not only that we need it, he talked about one of the methods is these clusters, the San Diego clusters and the clean tech cluster. So this cluster of what? Cluster and synergies were brought up by the mayor to talk about how people could cooperate, such as industry, academia, and government. But how does that cooperation look still needs to be resolved. We had a keynote presentation by BP. And there are some surprising things that I learned from the presentation. And one of the surprising things that were mentioned, because people say this is not economical without subsidies, renewable energy such as solar. But we saw some work from BP that solar is competitive today at peak electric usages. So they talk about how, but what can be transformative about that? And the thought by, if we could stimulate deployment of this technology, it needs to be through things like pricing. And so we could have pricing for electricity usage instantaneously through the use of, for example, smart meters, and have some transparency of electricity usage, even from the consumer. This could stimulate the deployment of the renewable technologies. So new technology and the understanding of how we use it and our cost points could be very transformative. We learned that the technology is not ready. Many battery technologies are not ready. And we had a wonderful presentation by Maxwell Technologies that gave a lay of the land of what is really needed and where we are with respect to technology. And some new concepts came out, and I thought was pretty useful in this concept of decoupling technology, decoupling power and energy in terms of systems. And I thought the possibility of, utilization of a battery for power like the lithium ion and a capacitor. So this combination of capacitor technology and battery technology, and then the use of electronics could be a very useful transformative technology aspect for this industry. Then we wanted to see what government is doing, and we had what I thought was a great presentation from a government lab, Argonne National Laboratory, who talked about how government should be involved in this particular problem. And some of the things that I felt would be transformative, taking a look at old technologies, such as we heard the sodium and nickel chloride technologies, sodium sulfate technologies, old technologies, decades old, But there are new materials, there are nanomaterials, and there are new analytical methods. So a fundamental understanding how batteries operate, especially at the interface, could be transformative. And then the government laboratories could help this transformation. And he thought a new model needs to be developed, because it's not here today. This is the Argonne National Laboratory fellow. That you have to take a look at public labs, which are doing basic research, and then private industry laboratories, so doing applied and maybe deployment of technology. A new partnership should emerge. He didn't have a model on how that partnership would look and how that would be sorted out, but that would have to take place, I think, in this next decade. Then we heard about the issues with respect to manufacturing technology. So we had the manufacturing talk, lean technologies, and we got a manufacturing perspective on on this issue. In the afternoon session was kind of unique. It was unique in that we had a brainstorming session. So we talked about innovation, we talked about branding and marketing, we talked about leadership style. And each one of these presentations of the afternoon touched on culture, a positive climate, and a collaboration. Again, this collaborative formation is necessary. And then thinking outside the box was necessary. At a brainstorming session, we felt maybe regulations should be a way. And maybe that's an issue. Or is that a solution? And then if you think out of the box, maybe that's not the right model for where we want to go. And so a key learning from that is that maybe we have to redefine something. Maybe we have to redefine a new model. A better model of collaboration between public and private is needed. And maybe this model that we thought, this mindset of government regulation, needs to be rethought. And I thought we had very useful conversations about what's the difference between a regulation and a code and a product standard. And all that has to be sorted out with respect to language. So I thought we had a very useful day. We're getting really good feedback. But we're trying to figure out what do we do with these things. And I'd like to show you what we're planning to do today. We have a full agenda again. And the way that the agenda for today is established, we're going to talk about financing in the morning. And then followed by a break, a coffee break. And then we're going to hear from Audrey Ziebelman about regulations. The FERC regulations and what our state and regulatory agencies are doing. And then we're going to bring a talk we're very happy to have a talk from Better Place on the EVs, the electric vehicles, and implementing new thoughts about the grid and the use of the grid and EVs. The lunch break will occur at 12:30, but Merle had requested that since we were very efficient eating lunch yesterday, we'll have a 1-hour lunch break. So instead of 90-minute lunch break, we'll have a 1-hour lunch break. It'll go from 12:30 to 1:30. And then 1:30, we're going to start up our panel session. So it will not be at 2 o'clock, so please jot that down, and we'll mention it again. So instead of 2 o'clock, we'll start up our panel session 1:30. Because of all the speakers and what we've learned about it, we would like to see 90 minutes of that panel discussion, almost the same amount of time that we had for the brainstorming. So it'll be a 90-minute panel discussion. And then we're going to bring it home with two talks from the industry. And Terry Mann has agreed to give a global type of talk at the end. So please stay for Terry Mann's presentation. It's really tough at the last presentation. He's going to talk about implementing large renewable energy sources, but he's going to try to wrap up what he's learned for the day in his particular presentation. Lastly, we talk about strategy, but what are we going to do with this stuff? What's the output of 2020? We're planning to give our output from this session to the governor's office and to Jerry Sanders, the mayor of San Diego's office, who inaugurated this. With our learnings and our recommendations, a good communication strategy is not only that we share information, but there's a call to action. So in order to have some transformation take place, there needs to be action. And there needs to be a recommendation. So there needs to be more than just information sharing, we'd like to collect our thoughts and actually deliver our recommendations from a collective group to both the governor and the mayor. With this, Murley, I'd like to turn it back over to you.